it cannot anger me any more than Gasher. Nothing can anger me more than Gasher.
Before this video starts, I just want to say that only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you like this video and want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and you can always change your mind in the future. Now back to the video.
What's up everyone, it's your boy Floz MG back with another episode of Tear Up, and this time I'm doing Metal Masters Beyblades. When I read the Metal Fusion Beyblades, I was surprised about how well received that was. So I thought, hey, you know what? Let's move on to do the Metal Masters Beyblades, because there's a wide variety there to rank, and hey, let's just get right into it. The rankings for this video are as follows: God Tier, WBBA, Let It Rip, Hades Inc., and Cancelled. You would have had to seen the anime to understand what I'm talking about when I say WBBA and Hades Inc. But for now, let's just get into it. The first Beyblade we have is Evil Befall, belonging to the blader Jack on Team Starbreaker, the American team. Evil Befall. This is one of my favorite Beyblades for a number of reasons. The Eternal Wide Defense Performance Tip, which freely rotates in the middle, giving it unlimited stamina. Basically, I just love the way this Beyblade looks too, but even so, I don't think I can put it in God tier just yet. It's WBBA worthy for now. Next up, we have another Beyblade from Team Starbreaker, Flame Bixus. This Bey belonged to the blader Zeo Abyss. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, Evil Befall is the Peacock constellation. Because a lot of these bays are sort of after constellations, if that makes sense. Flame Bixus, however, this one is just more like a compass as opposed to any constellation. It has the tallest spin track ever, the 230. There are 4 weights in the fusion wheel, which give it amazing centrifugal force. I think that's the term. I don't know. Also, Bixus has a certain ability where it's able to control the movements of the other bays around it. And of course, when I say that, I'm only talking about the features in the anime. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, you gotta go see it. It's fucking awesome. And if you don't like it, you're not human. Sorry, but you're just not human. Flame Bixus, also one of my favorites. It's still not God tier worthy yet. Moving up, we have a Beyblade from the EU representatives, Team Excalibur, Grand Capricorn. The Grand Fusion Wheel is one of the sturdiest, one of the thickest, making it very high on defense. Plus, Klaus is the most powerful power launcher, something like that, in the EU, so that much power, backed behind the denseness of the Grand Fusion Wheel, that delivers one major blow. One major blow, my dude. As for looks, I'm still not a big fan on the way that Capricorn looks. But you know what? He's kind of a midway point for me. These next two, in a way, are kind of a set, in a way. But I'll just do them one by one. Next up, we have Blue Grand Cetus. And what I mean by Blue Grand Cetus, I'll get to that in a minute. Inheriting the same Grand Fusion Wheel as Grand Capricorn, combined with a rubber sharp performance tip, adds amazing... what's the word? I think it's amazing balance is the word I'm looking for. Along with the Eternal Defense spin track, which is able to repel an opponent Beyblade. This Grand Cetus is a pretty good one. Oh yeah, and of course Cetus, the whale constellation. This Bey belongs to... what was his name? I actually had to think about the name of the blader who uses... his name is Wales. Guess where he's from? Still, the Grand Cetus Bey, it doesn't rise to my liking of Evil Befall and Flame Bixus yet. But it is more so than Grand Capricorn. Next up we have the White Grand Cetus, belonging to one of the other members on the EU team, Excalibur, Sophie. Bears the same Grand Fusion Wheel, rubber sharp performance tip. The spin track, however, is a little different. I don't remember what it is. But even so, it bears a lot of the same nature. Oh yeah, and they both protect a certain Beyblade that we'll get to in a minute. The two-seated space are known as a certain someone's twin jewels, meaning that they won't let any other opponent touch the bay that they are protecting, if you will. I don't know how to describe what the hell I'm saying. All I know is that Grand Cetus, this one for me is also kind of in the meh. Next up, we have the leader of Team Excalibur, Julian Concern's bay, Gravity Destroyer. Gravity Destroyer kind of has two modes, defense mode and counter mode. The counter mode is of the Eyes of Medusa, and like the name Gravity Destroyer suggests, it is a bay that can control gravity. And once the Eyes of Medusa are opened, the opponent bay gets like stuck in its tracks, frozen, as if it were turned to stone. That's because of the gravity that Gravity Destroyer is giving off, putting the bay in its place, if you will. That's not its only unique feature. Gravity Destroyer is the only Beyblade that can rotate both to the left and the right. The first dual rotation Beyblade that we ever come across. And I think for that feat alone, he's got to be a god tier bay. I mean, come on. I'm actually looking at the lineup of bays at the bottom, and they're actually kind of all going with their teams. But these next four are all going to be members of the Brazilian team, Team Garcia. First up, we have Ray Gasher M145Q. When I say M145Q, I mean in reference to the spin track and performance tip. M145, I believe, is the move spin track, and Q is the Quake performance tip. It kind of has the same features as Storm Capricorn did when I did the first ranking video of Beyblades. I just don't like the Bay Gasher in general. It just really wasn't that amusing to me. It just wasn't. I'm not sure how to word it. Alright, the next Bay is also a Ray Gasher, but it belongs to the only female of the team, Selene Garcia. I don't even want to get into it because I just hate Gasher. I hate it! This one, however, I think is pretty good. Next up, we have Ray Gill. I don't exactly know what constellation this is after, but the bay is kind of like based off the bones of a dinosaur in a sense. The Ray Fusion Wheel itself delivers high attack power, but also the energy ring, because of how like jagged it is, if a bay were to attack the energy ring, it would pretty much get cut up. And that'd be pretty bad. The only weak spot on the bay is its performance tip, the rubber semi-flat performance tip, which actually, it's a pretty good performance tip, if you will. But I think as a bay, Ray Gill is pretty good. It does rise to the standards, but I'm going to put it at the end of WBBA. That's just where I'm going to put it. Next up, we have the final bay of Team Garcia, Cyclone Herculeo. I don't know exactly what Herculeo is based off of, but the Cyclone Fusion Wheel has 5 really jagged blades that those deliver an insane amount of attack power. This is also one of the much shorter bays due to the shortness of the spin track. I forgot how short it is. But because it's so short, it's also, I believe, really good with uppercut attacks. I could very well be wrong, but honestly, I also just really love how this bay looks. It's much better than the Gashers, but I don't think it rises to the level of Ray Gill. That's just me. Alright, next up we have one of the most uniquely shaped bays, Vulcan Horuseus. Horuseus is based off of I think it's the Egyptian god Horus. I could very well be wrong, don't come at me in the comments. Horuseus belongs to the blader of Team Wildfang named Nile. Okay, yeah, it's definitely Egyptian. His name's fucking Nile. This base defensive power is really high up there. Its special move is Mystic Zone, and I'm not really sure what it does because no one really knows what it does because it just creates a big light in the middle of the stadium and then the battle's just over. I still don't understand how that worked. Honestly, I really love the way Vulcan Horuseus looks, but it still can't rise to the level of God tier. Next up we have Hades Kerbecs. Kerbecs if you don't know, is based off of the three-headed dog that protects the gates of hell, if you will. This bay belonged to Damien of Team Starbreaker, concluding the Team Starbreaker team. Kerbecs Spin Track is a boost disc. When he had his battle with Julian Conzer in Gravity Destroyer, he wanted to face him twice to battle both the left rotating and right rotating bay. When Julian went to left rotating, Damien then switched Hades Kerbecs Spin Track disc into boost mode, which kind of fused with the fusion wheel, delivering much more defense, much more power, just greater stats all around. No, correction, this was the only bay to completely dominate Gravity Destroyer and the Cetus team. That's definitely not an easy feat to accomplish, and because of that, he's God tier. As sad as it is, he's God tier. Next up, hey, you know we had to do it. We're bringing in fucking Meteo L-Drago, belonging to the one and only Ryuga, who's by far the best character in the series. Meteo L-Drago, a lot like Lightning L-Drago, still the 3 dragon heads, still reverse rotation, except this L-Drago has rubber on its energy ring that can absorb attacks and turn its opponent's spin strength into its own spin strength. Now that's a pretty good bay. I shouldn't even be deliberating it. He goes right at the front of God tier. It's L-Drago! I haven't put a single bay in Hades Inc. yet. Next up we have Thermal Lacerta, one of the bays of Team Wang Hu Zhang, the Chinese team. This bay belongs to a certain individual named Chi Yun. Why did it take me so long to remember his name? Oh well. Thermal Lacerta, it's not a defense type bay. It's a balance type bay. It has two small wings on spin track. God damn. That deliver a lot of attack power. That combined with the thermal fusion wheel. Hey yo. To me, it still doesn't exactly rise to the level of WBBA. Let It Rip does seem very fair to me. Next up, we have the Dark Horse, or should I say Light Horse rather, with Galaxy Pegasus. This bay belonged to Jinga Hagane, the leader of Team Gang Galaxy, the Japanese team, just the winners of the overall Beyblade World Championships. Yo, I don't even want to speak about it, because if you don't know, you should. And if you don't, you're a bad person. Alright. Next up, we have another one of the bays from Team Wildfang, Counter Scorpio. To me, there's nothing that seemed really unique about Scorpio as much as his blader, Demore. Because Demore grew up in the grasslands, his eyesight was much sharper than usual, so he could see literally every little thing going on in the battlefield. So Demore's knowledge comes very in handy. But as for the bay itself, I am not a big fan of it, but it cannot anger me any more than Gasher. Nothing can anger me more than Gasher. Next up we have Ray Striker. Ray Striker belonged to Masamune, also a member of the Japanese team. Striker's performance tip is a coated sharp performance tip, meaning like it's like a sort of a metal, it's sort of like a metal point, completely coated in rubber, adding a lot of friction and able to like dodge attacks like very easily, if you will, and change its direction like that. Also, it also gives a lot of speed, a lot of power, a lot of some other shit I'm probably forgetting. I don't like Striker as much as I do a lot of the WBBA Beyblades, but I am going to put it at the very beginning of Let It Rip. Next up, we have the only Beyblade in this group that wasn't in the Beyblade World Championships, Twisted Tempo. This one has the thickest fusion wheel, delivering a lot of centrifugal force, And as its creator, Dr. Ziggurat, says, it's a Bey that can control space and time. That sounds kind of powerful. And believe me, when you see the show, it is pretty powerful. So, I gotta put it in a God tier place. If you don't like my rankings, click off the fucking video. Next up, we have not the final Beyblade of Wang Yuzhong, the second to final Beyblade of Wang Yuzhong, Poison Virgo. This Beyblade belonged to Chao Xin, who at first in the series was very arrogant, never took anything seriously, but after his battle with Masamune, he realized, oh shit, I gotta get serious in order to beat this guy. And does he beat him? You're just gonna have to watch the show! Poison Virgo has 15 blades, also has an Eternal Defense spin track and Eternal Sharp performance tip. It's basically a very customized Beyblade. That combined with Chao Xin's knowledge of Tai Chi, it's in the right hands, it can be a really powerful Bey. But as the Bey itself, I'm just not the biggest fan of it. But still, better than Gasher! Next up we have the only Beyblade I was able to really take from Team Lavushka, the Russian team. I believe it's a Burn Wolf. The reason I didn't include any other Beyblades from Team Lavushka is because they're basically identical to Beys that we've covered in the first Beyblade ranking. They were a Rock Orso and a Rock Scorpio. Pretty much the same to a T. But Burn Wolf, it is a very interesting Bey. It belongs to the blader Alexei. As a Bey itself, it's just a normal balance type. But combined with Alexei's, well, scientific knowledge, they were able to rig the stadium and make it look like that a wolf was able to float. So as Beyblade itself, it kind of really sucks, but still, better than Gasher! Everything's better than Gasher. Alright, the last Beyblade we have is Rock Zarafa, belonging to Deshayan of Team Wang Yuzhong, the leader of Wang Yuzhong. Rock Zarafa has these rubber wings on its spin track that are really good with absorbing attacks and can send that energy back at them. Rock Zarafa, it's probably one of the most powerful defense type Beys. That combined with Baylin Temple's 4,000-year-old training as they continue to go on about, that's a lot of power right there. But still, as a Bey, I think I'm gonna put it in Let It Rip right after Striker. That's just my opinion, and I think this is where I'm going to leave it off. I've been Floz MG. This has been Ranking Metal Masters Beyblades, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.
Bitch, I ain't your hero, don't call me a savior. Think I'm out of control, that's just my behavior. I'm bringing the house down, major devastation. You don't gotta worry, cause it don't matter, I'm antisocial.